The night sky above the alien world was red with twin moons. Drums echoed across the valley, heavy and slow, like the beating of a giant heart. Torches burned with green fire, and shadows of tall alien warriors danced across the stone walls. The ritual had begun, and the whole tribe gathered in silence. In the middle of the great stone arena stood a young alien girl, her arms tied with silver ropes. Her eyes were wide with fear, her small body shaking as the crowd shouted. She was chosen as the offering for the savage ritual. To the tribe, it was tradition. To her, it was death, the leader of the aliens. A tall figure with horns like black iron raised his spear to the sky. His voice thundered across the arena. Tonight we prove our strength. Tonight we honor the ancient code. The girl will face the ritual, and the tribe will feast upon the glory of blood. The crowd roared with approval, stomping their feet on the stone floor. The ground shook as if the world itself accepted the cruel order. The girl tried to step back, but the ropes cut into her skin. She whispered, her voice breaking, "Please, someone help me." But no one moved, no one dared to speak against the ritual. For generations, this savage act had ruled their lives, and fear held their tongues. Then from the crowd, a human stepped forward. He was tall, but not like the aliens, his skin pale under the torchlight, his eyes burning with anger. The crowd gasped. Some laughed, others hissed. A human had no place in the ritual. A human was an outsider. Yet here he was, walking straight into the center of the arena. The alien leader frowned, lowering his spear. "Why do you come forward, human? Do you seek death? Do you mock our ways?" The human's voice was calm but strong, each word cutting the silence. "I will not let this ritual take her life." "Not while I stand here," the crowd erupted, some with laughter, others with rage. They shouted insults, they spat at the ground. "No human survives the ritual," one warrior growled. "Let him try," another shouted. "His bones will feed the dust." The girl looked up at the human with wide eyes. Her lips trembled. "You do not understand. No one fights for me, no one can win against them." But the human turned to her and said, "I understand enough, and I will fight even if I stand alone." The leader raised his hand, silencing the crowd. "Very well, human. If you wish to take her place, then you will face the savage ritual." His voice echoed like thunder. "But if you lose, you both die, and your sacrifice will be forgotten." The crowd screamed with wild joy, their voices shaking the air. Drums beat faster, torches burned brighter, and the ritual circle closed around them. Alien warriors stepped forward, their armor sharp with spikes, their eyes glowing with hunger. They carried blades carved from bone, heavy hammers made from stone, weapons that had killed many before. The smell of blood from past rituals still hung in the air, and the human breathed it in, steady and calm. The girl cried out, "Stop, please, you cannot fight them all. They will kill you." But the human only gave her a small smile. "Then let them try." His hands curled into fists, his stance firm, his eyes never leaving the alien warriors. He was only one man, yet his presence filled the arena with something new, something the tribe had never seen before. The alien leader gave the signal. The first warrior charged forward. The ground shook as his massive feet slammed against the stone. His bone blade rose high in the air, ready to slice the human in two. The crowd leaned forward, waiting for the scream, waiting for the blood, but the human did not move in fear. He stepped aside at the last moment. The warrior's blade struck stone. Sparks flew, the sound like thunder. The human struck back, a fast punch to the warrior's throat. The alien stumbled, choking, the crowd gasped in shock. This was not the way the ritual was meant to go. This was not how humans were supposed to fight. The human stood tall, his chest rising and falling. His voice loud, "I will not fall, I will not let her die." The alien girl's eyes filled with hope for the first time. The crowd, once laughing, now watched in silence. The human had broken the first rule of the ritual. He refused to be weak. And for the first time in their long, savage history, doubt began to grow in the hearts of the tribe. The drums slowed, the torches flickered. The night felt heavy with something new. The savage ritual had begun, but this time it was different. This time a human stood alone, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. The first warrior lay on the stone floor, gasping for air. The crowd shouted in anger and disbelief, their voices echoing like a storm trapped in the arena. Never before had a human struck down one of their fighters in the ritual. It was unthinkable. It was an insult to their sacred tradition. The alien leader's eyes narrowed. His black horns gleaming in the firelight, his voice thundered. One strike does not make you a victor, human. If you wish to stand in the place of the girl, then you must complete the ritual. You must face all the challenges until the end. The crowd roared, stomping their feet, the stone floor trembling beneath them. The savage ritual was not a single fight. It was a chain of trials, each more brutal than the last. The human stood tall, his body tense, his fists still clenched. He looked at the alien leader and said, "Then I will face them, all of them, if that is what it takes." His voice carried through the arena. Calm and steady, the alien girl's heart pounded. Her rope still tight around her wrists, she whispered to herself, "He is mad. He does not know what waits for him." The leader raised his hand, and another warrior stepped forward. This one was larger, his armor covered in scars from past victories. He carried a hammer made from solid stone, its weight enough to crush bone with a single blow. The crowd chanted his name, their voices hungry for blood. The human took a deep breath. His eyes locked on his opponent. He had no weapon, only his body, his speed, and his will. The hammer-wielding alien slammed the weapon on the ground, sparks leaping into the air. The sound shook the walls, and the girl closed her eyes in fear. The fight began. The alien charged, the hammer swinging like a falling star. The human leapt aside, the weapon smashing into stone, breaking it apart like glass. Dust rose, covering the arena. The crowd cheered, expecting the human to be crushed next. But through the dust, the human moved quickly, his strikes fast and sharp. He attacked the alien's legs. Forcing him to stumble, he dodged another swing, the hammer barely missing his head. The alien roared in rage, lifting the weapon high again. The human seized the chance. Driving his fist into the alien's jaw, the giant stumbled, blood dripping from his mouth. The crowd gasped, silence falling for a heartbeat. The girl whispered, her eyes wide, "He is not fighting like us. He is fighting like something else." She had never seen combat like this. It was not strength against strength. It was speed against brute force, mind against tradition. The alien crowd began to murmur, their certainty shaking. The human was not supposed to last this long, yet here he was. The alien leader's face grew darker with every passing moment. He had expected the human to die quickly, forgotten like dust. Instead, the ritual was turning into a spectacle none of them had ever imagined. A human was rewriting their savage trial with every strike. The hammer fell again, the ground breaking under its weight. The human rolled aside, his body aching but his spirit unbroken. He climbed onto the alien's back, striking the side of his head again and again. The alien staggered, his hammer slipping from his grip. With one final push, the human drove him to the ground. The crowd screamed in shock, disbelief flooding their voices. 2 victories, 2 warriors defeated. The human stood breathing heavily, sweat dripping down his face. He looked at the girl, her eyes shining with something new. Hope. For the first time in her life, she saw hope in this savage arena. The alien leader raised his spear high, his voice cutting through the noise. "You have survived the first trials, human, but the ritual is not yet over. You have only tasted the beginning." He turned to the crowd, his words sharp and cruel. "The next challenge will break him. It will crush his defiance. And his screams will feed our gods." The crowd howled, the torches blazing brighter. The girl's heart sank, for she knew what was coming next. From the shadows of the arena, the ground shook, a gate opened. Iron chains rattling, a massive beast stepped out, its body covered in black scales, its eyes glowing with fire. It was not a warrior this time. It was a monster bred only for the ritual. Its roar shook the air, dust falling from the high stone walls. The crowd erupted with excitement. Shouting in madness, the human looked at the beast. His breath steady, he whispered to himself, "So this is what you fear. This is what you call strength." The girl screamed, "You cannot fight it. No one ever survives the beast." Her voice was drowned by the roar of the crowd. The beast lowered its head, claws scraping the ground, ready to strike. The human tightened his fists, his body sore but his spirit burning. He had faced warriors and won, but now he faced something else, something that no one believed could be defeated. The alien leader smiled, sure of his victory. The crowd screamed for blood, their voices like thunder. The girl's heart raced, torn between fear and the small light of hope she felt. And the human stood alone, ready for the challenge that could end his life. The savage ritual had only just begun, and the greatest trial was now before him. The beast's roar rolled across the arena like thunder. Its jaws opened wide, sharp teeth glistening under the green torchlight. The ground shook as it stepped forward. Each claw sinking into the stone floor, the crowd howled with joy, their voices mixing with the monster's roar. They had waited for this moment, the moment when the human would be torn apart. The alien girl trembled, her ropes cutting deeper into her wrists. She whispered, "No one survives the beast. Not even our strongest warriors." Her voice was small, almost lost in the storm of sound around her. But the human heard her, his eyes never leaving the creature. His voice was low, steady. "Then today will be different." The beast lowered itself, muscles coiling like a spring. Its tail whipped across the arena. Smashing stone into dust, the human stepped lightly, his body tense, his fists ready. He had no weapon, no shield, only speed and instinct. The crowd screamed for blood, their chants beating like drums in the night. With a roar, the beast lunged, its claws slashing. The human dove aside, rolling across the stone floor. The monster's strike smashed into the ground. Breaking it apart, dust rose, smoke filled the air, and the crowd cheered louder. They thought it was only a matter of time before the human was crushed. The girl's heart pounded as she tried to see through the dust. Her eyes searched for him, terrified that he had already been struck down. Then she saw him rise from the smoke, his stance strong, his eyes burning. He was still there, still alive. Facing the beast without fear, the beast roared again, its glowing eyes locked on the human. It swung its massive tail, the air cracking with force. The human jumped, landing just in time, the tail smashing where he stood. The shockwave sent him sliding across the arena floor, his arms aching. But he pushed himself up, refusing to fall, refusing to stop. The alien leader leaned forward, his horns casting shadows in the firelight. His voice was sharp. "He cannot last." No one can last. Yet doubt flickered in his eyes. For the human still stood. The ritual was not unfolding as he expected. The human began to move differently. Faster, sharper. He no longer waited for the beast. He attacked it, he struck its leg, its side, its jaw, small blows that made it roar louder. The crowd jeered, mocking him. Weak blows, pointless strikes, but the girl understood. Her eyes wide. He is not trying to kill it with one strike. He is wearing it down. The beast grew angrier, its roars shaking the walls. It charged faster than before, claws reaching for the human. The human ducked under its arm, driving his fist into the soft flesh beneath its scales. The beast howled in pain, stumbling, its balance broken for a moment. The crowd fell silent, their voices caught in their throats. The girl gasped, hope flickering inside her. She whispered, "He can do it, he can really do it." The alien leader clenched his fists, his rage hidden behind his cold stare. If the human defeated the beast, the ritual itself would lose its power. The monster's tail struck again, this time hitting the human's shoulder. The impact sent him crashing into the stone wall. Blood filling his mouth, the girl cried out, struggling against her ropes, "No!" The crowd cheered again, convinced the human was finished. But slowly, painfully, he pushed himself up, his body trembling yet unbroken. His voice echoed, "I will not fall." "Not today," the beast roared in fury. Charging once more, the human stood his ground, waiting, watching. At the last second, he rolled aside, the beast smashing into the wall with crushing force. Stone shattered, dust filled the air, and the monster's head reeled from the impact. The human leapt forward, striking the beast's eye with all his strength. The creature shrieked, thrashing wildly, blood spilling across the floor. The crowd erupted, half in shock, half in rage. Some shouted for the beast to finish him. Others watched in silence. The alien girl's eyes filled with tears, her heart burning with something she never felt before. Belief. The human was not just fighting for her life. He was fighting for something greater. The beast staggered, its roars weaker now. The human climbed onto its back. Gripping the rough scales, he struck again and again, his fists hammering into its wounded eye. The monster collapsed, its body shaking, its breath slowing. The arena grew silent, the only sound the human's ragged breathing. At last, the beast fell still, its body heavy on the stone floor. The human stood over it, blood on his hands, sweat on his face, but his spirit unbroken. The crowd could not speak, their voices stolen by what they had witnessed. Never before had a human survived the beast. Never before had a human broken their ritual this far. The alien leader rose, his face dark with fury. His voice cut the silence. This is not victory, this is only the beginning. The ritual is not yet complete. The crowd erupted again, torn between disbelief and savage hunger. The girl looked at the human, her eyes shining. You did it. You defeated the beast, but the human only shook his head. His voice quiet. It is not over, not yet. The torches burned brighter. The drums beat again. The savage ritual was not finished, and the human's greatest trial still waited in the fire of tomorrow. The arena was filled with silence after the beast fell. Its massive body lay still, blood soaking into the stone floor. The human stood over it, his chest rising and falling with every breath. The crowd, once wild with rage and laughter, now sat frozen, unable to believe what they had seen. The alien leader's face was dark with anger, his horns casting long shadows under the firelight. He raised his spear high and shouted, "The ritual is not finished. The human bleeds but still breathes. Let the trials continue until nothing remains of him." The crowd roared again, but this time their voices were mixed with doubt. For the first time in generations, the ritual had been broken, not by strength but by something else. The girl watched, her wrists raw from the ropes, her eyes fixed on the human. She had never seen anyone stand against the ritual, never seen anyone fight for her. When the human came close, she whispered, "Why are you doing this? You are not one of us, you do not know our ways." The human looked at her, his face bruised but his eyes steady. "I don't need to know your ways. I only need to know this: no one deserves to die alone." Her heart trembled at his words. They were simple, yet they cut deeper than any blade. For her people, survival was always strength, always cruelty. But this human fought for something else, something she could not understand. It was not victory he wanted. It was life, it was hope. The alien leader motioned, and another gate opened, this time not a beast, but two warriors stepped out, their armor shining, their weapons dripping with poison. They moved together, their eyes sharp, their steps in rhythm. They were not just fighters. They were hunters trained to kill as one. The crowd roared with excitement, believing the human would finally fall. The girl gasped, "They will not face you one by one. They will strike together. They never stop. They never rest." The human's jaw tightened, but his voice was calm. "Then I will not rest either." The fight began, both warriors rushing forward, blades flashing under the torchlight. The human dodged the first strike, but the second blade cut across his arm. Blood spilling down, he gritted his teeth. Refusing to fall, he struck back, a quick blow to one warrior's chest, but the other attacked from behind. The human barely escaped. Rolling across the stone floor, the girl shouted, her voice breaking through the crowd, "You cannot fight them like this. You will not last." The human looked at her, and for a moment his eyes softened. "Then tell me how to fight them," he said, his breath heavy. She froze, her heart racing. "No one ever asked me before. No one ever listened." "Then I am asking now," the human replied. She swallowed hard and spoke quickly, her voice trembling. "They always stay close. One attacks high, the other low. If you separate them, they are weaker." The human nodded. Her words sharp in his mind, he shifted his stance, watching the rhythm of the two warriors. When the first swung high, the human ducked low, kicking the other away, breaking their rhythm. The crowd gasped, confusion spreading. No one had ever broken the hunters' unity before. The warriors roared, their attacks growing wilder. The human moved faster now, guided by the girl's voice. "Strike the second one's knee, he is weaker there," she shouted. The human obeyed, his fist slamming into the joint. The alien falling with a cry. The other warrior tried to cover him, but the human struck again, breaking their pattern once more. The fight turned. The human was no longer alone. Every word from the girl gave him strength. Every warning saved him from a deadly strike. For the first time, the ritual became something new. It was no longer just about killing. It was about surviving together. The alien leader's face twisted in fury. "This is no ritual, this is weakness," he roared. But the crowd did not roar with him. Instead, they watched, silent, their eyes wide. They were seeing something they had never seen before. A bond, a trust, something their savage ritual had never allowed. The human fought with renewed strength. Striking with precision, one warrior fell, his weapon clattering to the ground. The other staggered, blood running down his face. The human stood over him, ready to strike the final blow, but he paused, his chest heaving, his fist tight. Then slowly, he lowered his hand, stepping back. The warrior gasped, too shocked to rise. The crowd erupted in confusion. Some shouted for blood, others stared in silence. The girl's eyes filled with tears, she whispered. "You spared him." The human looked at her, his voice steady. "Killing is easy, living is harder." The alien leader roared in rage, striking the ground with his spear. "You dare insult the ritual with mercy? You dare break our sacred law?" But his words no longer carried the same power. The crowd had seen something different, something they could not forget. The girl's voice trembled, but she spoke loud enough for him to hear. "You are not like us. You are something else." The human gave her a small smile, though blood still ran down his arm. "Maybe, but we survived together. Remember that." The torches burned brighter. The drums beat again. The human had faced warriors and beasts, but now he had something more. A bond, a voice beside him, a reason to keep fighting. The savage ritual was changing, and the tribe could no longer look away. The arena smelled of blood and smoke. The two hunters lay defeated on the stone floor, one groaning in pain, the other too weak to rise. The human stood tall, his fists stained with blood, his chest heaving with each breath. But he had not killed them. He had spared them. The crowd erupted in confusion, voices clashing like thunder. Some screamed for blood, demanding the ritual be completed with death. Others sat in silence, unable to understand why the human chose mercy. For them, the ritual was always the same: fight until one body no longer moved. But this human was rewriting the law with every choice. The alien leader's face burned with rage, his horns glistening under the torchlight. He slammed his spear into the ground, the sound echoing like a drumbeat. "This is not victory, this is betrayal. The ritual demands blood." "And only blood," the crowd roared in reply, yet their voices trembled with doubt. The girl's eyes followed the human as he returned to her side. Her heart still racing from the fight, her voice soft. "Why did you stop? Why did you not finish them?" The human looked at her, his gaze steady, his words quiet but sharp. "Because mercy is stronger than death, and strength is not the only way to win." Her breath caught in her throat. Those words pierced deeper than any blade. All her life she had been told that survival meant cruelty, that compassion was weakness. Yet here was someone who fought with both power and mercy, someone who stood for her when no one else dared. The alien leader snarled, raising his spear once more. "Enough games, enough insults if the human wishes to break the code. Then let him face the full fury of our warriors." He turned to the crowd, his voice booming. "All of you, every fighter, every blade, enter the arena and end him." The crowd gasped. The torches flaring brighter, dozens of warriors stepped forward, their armor clashing, their weapons gleaming. They formed a circle around the human and the girl, their eyes filled with hate. The girl's breath quickened, her voice shaking. "You cannot fight them all. This is not a trial. This is slaughter." The human did not flinch, his voice calm. "Then I will face them anyway." The first warrior rushed in, his blade swinging. The human ducked, striking him across the jaw, sending him crashing to the ground. Two more came from behind, their hammers raised. The human moved swiftly, pulling the girl aside as the weapon smashed into stone. Dust and sparks filled the air. The girl shouted warnings, her eyes sharp. "Behind you, left side. Watch the spear." Her voice guided him, her words saving him again and again. Together they moved not as fighter and victim, but as something more, a bond formed in fire. A unity born in survival. The crowd could not look away. Their ritual had never seen such a thing. A human and an alien girl fighting side by side. Each strike from the human was not just strength, but strategy. Each cry from the girl was not fear, but courage, and with every moment the ritual they worshipped began to crumble. One warrior fell, another dropped his weapon, fear flashing in his eyes. The human fought like no other, using speed and cunning where strength failed. He did not fight to kill, he fought to protect. The girl's heart swelled as she realized the truth. This was not just about her survival. This was about changing everything. The alien leader's rage boiled over. His voice thundered, "Cowards, weaklings. Finish him now." But some of the warriors hesitated, their steps faltering. They looked at the human, at the girl, at the bond that glowed brighter than any torch, and doubt grew in their hearts. The human struck down another, then stepped back, his voice loud enough for all to hear. "You think strength is only killing? You think glory is only death? But you are wrong." His words echoed across the arena. The true strength is to stand for someone else, to fight not for blood but for life. The crowd fell silent, their chants broken, their faces unreadable. For the first time, someone had spoken against the code inside the ritual itself. The girl stared at him, her voice trembling. "They will never forgive you for these words." The human gave her a small smile. "Then let them remember me." The alien leader could no longer hide his fury. He leapt into the arena, his spear glowing with fire, his armor heavy with shadow. "If you wish to break the ritual, then you will face me, human." The crowd gasped. Their leader had never entered the ritual himself. The girl's heart froze. She whispered, "No, not him, not the blood spear." The human stood tall, his fists clenched, his body weary but unbroken. He looked at the girl and said, "Stay close, do not lose hope. We are not done yet." The alien leader raised his spear high, the fire reflecting in his dark eyes. "This ends now," he roared, his voice shaking the arena walls. The torches blazed higher, the drums thundered faster. The savage ritual had reached its breaking point, and the final code was about to shatter in blood and fire. The alien leader stepped into the arena, his shadow long under the burning torches. His spear glowed with fire, every movement heavy with power. The crowd fell silent, their voices swallowed by fear. Never before had the blood spear entered the ritual himself. Tonight was different. Tonight the human had forced his hand. The girl's heart raced, her voice barely a whisper. "You cannot face him. No one can. He has killed more than 100 in this arena." The human glanced at her, his face battered, blood on his lips, but his eyes calm. "Then I will be the first to stand against him," he said, his voice steady. The leader laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "You are already broken, human, and yet you still speak of hope. I will crush you and prove that mercy is weakness." The drums began to beat, slow at first, then faster. The crowd's fear turned into hunger. They wanted blood, they wanted an ending. The leader moved like a storm, his spear slicing the air, sparks flying as it cut stone. The human barely dodged, the fire grazing his skin, leaving burns across his arm. The girl cried out, "Watch his left side. He always strikes from low after the high cut." The human listened, moving back, avoiding the deadly sweep of the spear. The leader frowned, his eyes narrowing. "So, the little offering speaks." But the human smirked through his pain. "She is not an offering. She is my strength." The crowd gasped, their voices trembling. No one had ever spoken like this in the ritual. No one had dared to raise another's life above the code. The leader roared and attacked again, his spear blazing with fury. The human met the strike with his bare hands, catching the shaft for a moment before being thrown back against the stone wall. The girl screamed, running to his side, "Get up. You must get up." The human coughed blood, his body weak, but he forced himself to stand. The leader sneered, "Why do you rise again and again? You cannot win." The human's voice was rough but unbroken. "Because she is still alive, and as long as she lives, I will stand." The girl's eyes filled with tears, her hands trembling. She could not watch him fall alone anymore. For the first time in her life, she stepped forward into the circle. The crowd gasped, their voices breaking into shock. Never before had the chosen offering joined the battle. Never before had anyone broken the ritual so completely. The leader's face twisted in rage. "You dare stand beside him? You betray your own people." But the girl raised her chin, her voice louder than it had ever been. "I am not betraying them, I am betraying the lie. This ritual is nothing but chains, and tonight, I will break them." Her words spread through the arena like fire. The crowd murmured, their certainty shaking. The human smiled faintly. "Together then," he said. She nodded, her fear gone, replaced by something new. "Courage." The leader roared, rushing forward, his spear aiming for the human's heart, but the girl shouted, "Now!" and the human shifted aside, the strike missing by inches. The girl grabbed a broken chain from the ground, swinging it at the leader's legs. He stumbled only for a moment, but enough. The human struck his jaw with all his strength, the sound echoing through the arena. The leader staggered back, rage burning in his eyes. The crowd no longer cheered for him. They watched in silence. For the first time, they saw their code bending, breaking under something stronger. The human and the girl fought together, back to back, their movements in rhythm. She warned, he struck, she distracted, he defended. The ritual had become something new, something alive. The leader attacked again, his spear spinning like fire in the night. He struck the human's shoulder, blood pouring. He swung again, nearly hitting the girl, But the human pulled her away. Taking the blow himself, pain seared his body. But still he did not fall. The girl screamed, "Stop! You'll die." But the human's voice was firm. "If I fall, it will be standing, never kneeling." The crowd trembled. Some shouted for the ritual to end. Others whispered in doubt. The tribe had never seen courage like this, never seen unity in the face of death. The leader roared, "This ends now," raising his spear high. But before he could strike, the girl wrapped the chain around his arm. Pulling with all her strength, the human seized the chance, striking the leader's chest with every ounce of power left in him. The blow sent the blood spear staggering, his spear clattering to the ground. The crowd erupted, half in shock, half in awe. The leader stumbled, gasping, his eyes wide with disbelief. No one had ever disarmed him. No one had ever forced him back. The human and the girl stood side by side, bruised, bleeding, but unbroken. The torches flared higher. The drums fell silent. The savage ritual had reached a turning point. The code was broken. The people had seen something stronger than their law. And the leader, for the first time, knew fear. The blood spear staggered, his spear lying broken on the stone floor. The crowd gasped, their voices torn between disbelief and fear. Never before had anyone disarmed him. Never before had the ritual been bent this far. The torches flickered wildly, as if the flames themselves did not know what to believe. The human stood tall, his body bleeding, his breath heavy. Beside him, the alien girl clutched the chain, her arms trembling but her eyes steady. Together they faced the leader. Together they had shaken the code. But the fight was not over, not yet. The blood spear's rage filled the arena. His voice thundered like a storm. "You think you have won? You think mercy and weakness can break us? I am the code, I am the ritual, and I will tear you both apart." His words shook the crowd, but their hearts no longer burned with certainty. They had seen too much. They had seen the ritual broken. The leader grabbed the remains of his spear, turning it into a jagged blade. His steps shook the ground as he charged, his fury sharper than fire. The human pushed the girl behind him. His fists clenched, his voice calm. "Stay back. This ends with me." The girl's heart ached, her voice trembling. "No, you cannot face him alone." But the human shook his head. "I stood for you when no one else did. Now I will finish this." Her tears burned, but she knew his words were true. The ritual had begun with him standing alone, and it would end the same way. The blood spear struck. His jagged weapon slashing, the human dodged. His body weak but his will unbroken. He struck back, a quick punch to the leader's chest. But the alien barely flinched. The fight was brutal, every strike shaking the arena, every blow echoing in the silence. The girl shouted warnings, her voice sharp. "Left strike, watch his step, the blade is coming high." The human listened, moving in rhythm with her voice, but the leader's strength was monstrous. Each strike heavier than the last. Blood spilled across the stone floor. The human's vision blurred, still he refused to fall. The crowd watched in silence. Their chance gone. They no longer saw the ritual. They saw something new. A man who fought not for glory, not for blood, but for life itself. And they saw a girl who once stood as a victim. Now shouting with courage beside him, the blood spear roared, striking the human across the shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. The girl screamed, rushing to his side, "Please get up. Do not leave me." The leader raised his weapon high, ready to end it. The human coughed blood, forcing himself to rise once more. His voice was broken but steady. "I will not die on my knees." With one final burst of strength, the human caught the leader's weapon mid-strike. The jagged blade cut into his hand, blood pouring, but he held it tight. He pulled the leader forward, slamming his fist into his face once, twice, again. The blood spear stumbled, his knees buckling. The weapon falling from his grasp, the arena shook with silence. Every eye fixed on the moment, the leader lay before him, beaten, broken, his chest heaving. The human stood over him, his fist raised for the final blow. The crowd leaned forward, waiting for blood, waiting for death, but the human stopped. His fist lowering slowly, his voice rang out, strong even through his pain. "No more blood, no more chains. The ritual ends here." The crowd gasped, their voices caught in their throats. The blood spear stared in disbelief, his voice trembling. You spare me?" The human's eyes burned. "Killing you would change nothing. Sparing you changes everything." The alien girl stepped forward, her voice rising. "You all saw it. He had victory in his hands, yet he showed mercy, stronger than any of your savage laws. The crowd murmured, their voices growing louder. Some shouted in anger, but others cheered, their hearts moved by what they had witnessed. For the first time, they questioned the ritual, questioned the code, and in their eyes, the humans saw the spark of change. The blood spear fell silent, unable to rise. The human turned to the crowd, his voice carrying across the arena. You called me weak, you called me nothing. But I stood against your beasts, your warriors, your leader. I stood alone, and I still stand, not because I kill, but because I protect. His words struck them harder than any blow. The torches burned brighter. The drums fell silent. The crowd no longer demanded blood. Their eyes were fixed on the human and the girl. The ritual, their sacred chain, lay broken before them, and none of them could deny it. The girl's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were not of fear. She whispered, her voice trembling, "You stood alone, but now you will never be forgotten." The human gave her a small smile, weary but proud. "Then the ritual truly ends," he said. The blood spear lowered his head. His strength gone, the crowd bowed their heads. The code shattered, and under the light of twin moons, the savage ritual died not in blood but in mercy, not in chains but in freedom.